Desire is often misunderstood. We believe it is something that simply arrives, burns brightly, and then fades away with time. But desire isn't a visitor. It's a creation. In long-term relationships, it doesn't disappear because love grows weaker. It disappears because familiarity grows stronger than curiosity. The truth is that we don't stop desiring our partners, we stop seeing them. We stop listening with wonder. We stop imagining their inner world, the one that existed long before we arrived in their lives and the one that continues quietly within them every day. Desire needs room to breathe. It needs the spark of surprise, the thrill of discovery, the invitation of the unfamiliar. And yet, in the comfort of long-term love, we often trade passion for predictability. But what if the secret to desire isn't about adding more intensity, but about restoring mystery? What if it's not about what we do together, but how we look at each other? What if the greatest erotic pulse comes from remembering that the person we love is still evolving, still unfolding, still holding pieces of themselves we haven't yet met? Tonight, I invite you to reimagine desire not as a fading flame but as a garden that grows when we cultivate space, playfulness, imagination, and curiosity. Because the secret to desire in a long-term relationship is not found in grand gestures, but in the simple decision to rediscover each other, again and again. Desire thrives in space, not suffocation, because longing needs room to stretch, breathe, and expand beyond the borders of routine. In the beginning of a relationship, space is naturally present. Two individuals come together from separate worlds, each carrying their own dreams, stories, and boundaries. This distance creates a magnetic pull, a curiosity that makes every moment feel alive. Over time, however, the closeness we worked so hard to build can accidentally become the very thing that stifles the spark. When two people merge their lives so tightly that nothing feels separate anymore, desire struggles to find its footing. Desire is fueled by the subtle tension between wanting and having, between closeness and individuality, between familiarity and the thrill of the unknown. Without that tension, the erotic charge softens, not because love has weakened, but because the lines between self and partner have blurred. It is in the space between people that desire finds oxygen. It's the moment you watch your partner absorbed in something that doesn't involve you, and for a second, you see them through fresh eyes. It's the realization that they are not entirely yours, they are their own person with their own inner world, and that sense of autonomy quietly awakens longing. Space doesn't mean distance in the emotional sense. It is not about withholding affection or retreating into coldness. It is about allowing each person to maintain a life that is vibrant and independent, a life that brings new energy back into the relationship. When partners nurture their individuality, they bring novelty, inspiration, and vitality into the shared space. They become more interesting to themselves, and by extension, more interesting to each other. Too often, couples believe that the cure for fading desire is more togetherness, more merging, more closeness, but this frequently leads to the opposite outcome. Desire is not born from sameness, it rises from difference, from seeing the person you love as slightly out of reach, as someone who continues to evolve in ways you haven't fully discovered. When couples learn to respect and honor the gentle distance that desire requires, they create an environment where longing can reawaken naturally. This space is not a threat to connection but a pathway to deeper attraction. It restores the sense of anticipation, the subtle ache of wanting, the excitement that comes from not fully knowing what the other will reveal next. By allowing each other the freedom to breathe, partners invite desire to return, not as a forced effort, but as an effortless response to. Rediscovering the person who once captivated them and continues to hold a world within them that is always unfolding mystery is not the opposite of love but the fuel of eroticism, because desire is intimately connected to the unknown, the unexpected, and the parts of a partner that remain slightly beyond reach. In the early stages of a relationship, mystery is effortless. You are discovering someone's stories, their gestures, their hopes, the way they laugh, the way they think, the worlds they've lived in that you were never a part of. That discovery creates excitement, curiosity, and a natural sense of longing. But as time passes, couples often fall into repetition, assuming they fully know their partner simply because they have shared years together. Familiarity becomes so strong that mystery fades, and with it, the spark slowly dims. The paradox is that love seeks to know, to understand, to bring someone as close as possible, Yet desire is ignited by the bits of someone that remain unknown. When everything is predictable, the erotic imagination has nothing to play with. It's the surprise in your partner's eyes when they speak passionately about something you didn't expect, the way they express themselves in a moment that catches you off guard, the glimpse of a part of them that reminds you there is so much more beneath the surface. This is where mystery lives, not in secrets, but in the depth of a person's inner world, in the layers that unfold slowly over time. True intimacy is not about knowing everything, it is about being open to discovering more. The mystery that fuels desire is not the kind that creates insecurity or distance, but the kind that invites curiosity. It's the understanding that your partner is not a solved puzzle but a continually evolving human being. When you stop assuming you know who they are and instead approach them with renewed curiosity, you reawaken the excitement that once felt so natural. Couples who maintain desire understand that mystery isn't lost simply because time has passed, it is lost when curiosity is replaced by assumption. By choosing to stay curious, to observe without judgment, to listen with interest, and to notice the small shifts in each other, partners keep the relationship dynamic and alive. Mystery thrives in self-expression as well. The more each person engages with their own passions, interests, and personal growth, the more they bring newness into the relationship. Witnessing your partner in their element, doing something that lights them up, reminds you of the vastness of who they are, and in that vastness, desire is reignited. Mystery allows partners to see each other not as fixed beings but as unfolding stories, and in that unfolding, desire finds its most powerful source. Responsibility and passion don't naturally coexist because the roles we adopt in long-term relationships often shift from lovers to managers, organizers, and caretakers, and these roles, while essential, rarely inspire desire. When a relationship matures, couples often build a life filled with responsibilities, bills, routines, chores, schedules, and the emotional labor of keeping everything running smoothly. These practical demands create stability, but stability alone doesn't awaken the erotic imagination. Passion thrives in a different emotional climate, one that is playful, spontaneous, and unburdened by obligation. When the daily grind takes over, partners begin to see each other through the lens of duty rather than desire. The person you once found thrilling becomes the person who needs to be reminded to pick up groceries or handle a task. The emotional energy that once fueled passion is quietly redirected toward maintaining the structure of life together. It's not that love diminishes, it's that the dynamic that sparks eroticism gets overshadowed by the seriousness of shared responsibility. Passion asks for freedom, creativity, and a sense of possibility, while responsibility demands reliability, predictability, and efficiency. These two emotional ecosystems rarely thrive in the same space without intentional effort. Couples often fall into routines where their interactions revolve around logistics instead of connection, and over time, this practicality can dull attraction. It's difficult to feel desire when the relationship feels like a business partnership rather than a romantic one. Responsibilities create closeness, but not necessarily erotic energy. Desire needs contrast. It needs moments where partners step outside their roles and interact not as co-managers of life but as two individuals who still see each other with excitement and fascination. When partners become consumed by tasks, they may forget to flirt, surprise each other, or create experiences that invite sensuality back into the relationship. Passion cannot breathe in an atmosphere weighed down by constant duty, but it can be revived when couples intentionally carve out space where play is welcomed and expectations loosen. The balance between responsibility and passion is not about eliminating obligations but about remembering that the relationship requires both structure and spark. Small shifts can reignite the erotic pulse, a moment of intentional eye contact, a playful comment, a break in routine that brings back spontaneity. Rediscovering passion means consciously stepping out of the predictable roles that life imposes and reconnecting with the version of yourself and your partner that existed before responsibilities multiplied. When partners give themselves permission to momentarily set aside duty, they allow desire to re-enter, creating a dynamic where love and passion can coexist rather than compete. The self you bring into the relationship is the self that shapes desire because attraction is deeply connected to how alive, confident, and connected you feel within your own identity. In the early stages of love, people often show up as their most vibrant selves, curious, expansive, and open to discovery. They bring energy, passion, and individuality into the connection, and that individuality becomes part of what fuels desire. But as time passes, many people begin to lose pieces of themselves in the comfort or routine of long-term partnership. They stop nurturing their personal interests, they shrink their social world, or they neglect the inner passions that once made them feel dynamic and whole. When a person disconnects from themselves, desire naturally fades, not because their partner becomes less appealing but because they no longer feel like the captivating version of themselves they once were. Desire is not just about the other person, it is also about who you feel you are in their presence. When you feel diminished, exhausted, or uninspired, it becomes difficult to connect with sensuality or longing. Personal growth plays a central role in keeping attraction alive. When you continue to evolve, learn, explore, and invest in your own development, you bring fresh energy into the relationship. You become someone who is not stagnant but expanding, someone who has new thoughts, new passions, new layers to reveal. This continual evolution reignites curiosity in your partner because they get to rediscover parts of you they didn't know existed. At the same time, reconnecting with yourself rekindles your own desire because you feel more grounded, more confident, and more alive. Desire thrives when you feel yourself growing rather than shrinking. A long-term relationship can unintentionally create patterns where partners look to each other for fulfillment instead of nurturing their individuality. But desire weakens when the relationship becomes the sole source of identity. Independence does not threaten connection, it enriches it. When both partners maintain a strong sense of self, they meet each other not out of neediness but out of choice, and choice is the foundation of desire. Seeing your partner pursue something they care about, witnessing their excitement, or observing them shine in a space that doesn't include you can reignite admiration and longing. It reminds you that they are a full person, not just a role in your shared life. The self you bring into the relationship influences how you give, how you receive, how you flirt, how you express, and how you desire. When you nurture your own vitality, you create an emotional environment where desire can reawaken naturally. You become a participant in the dance of attraction, not a spectator waiting for passion to return on its own. Playfulness revives what routine steals because joy, spontaneity, and imagination are essential ingredients of desire, and they often disappear under the weight of daily responsibilities. In the beginning of a relationship, play comes effortlessly. Couples tease, flirt, surprise each other, and create moments that feel light and alive. This sense of play generates an emotional spark, making interactions feel fresh and exciting. As time passes, however, the practical aspects of shared life tend to overshadow the playful ones. The relationship becomes filled with tasks, schedules, and discussions about what needs to be done next. Slowly, the atmosphere shifts from spirited to serious, and while seriousness may build stability, it rarely nurtures desire. Play opens the door to the unexpected, the unplanned, and the imaginative, all things that stimulate the erotic mind. It disrupts routine in a gentle way, offering moments that feel new even within long-term partnership. When couples lose playfulness, they lose the emotional lubrication that keeps desire flexible and alive. Without play, everything becomes predictable, and predictability is the quiet enemy of passion. Playfulness allows partners to see each other in a softer, more vibrant light. It gives them permission to step outside the roles they inhabit, parent, professional, problem solver, and momentarily return to a space where they are simply two people enjoying each other's presence. In these moments, desire can spark again because the relationship stops feeling like a series of obligations and begins to feel like an experience. It's the difference between living beside someone and living with someone, between sharing space and sharing energy. Playfulness can be expressed in small gestures that disrupt routine, like an unexpected compliment, a mischievous smile, a spontaneous outing, or a shared joke that reconnects you both to the joy of being together. It doesn't require grand romantic gestures, it simply requires a willingness to be light-hearted, curious, and open to connection. This willingness can transform the emotional climate of a relationship, making it easier for partners to reconnect physically and emotionally. When there is laughter, there is relaxation, and when there is relaxation, desire finds room to grow. Routine creates predictability, but play reintroduces possibility. It encourages partners to take emotional risks, to be vulnerable in a way that feels fun rather than heavy. When couples prioritize play, they create opportunities for shared pleasure, which strengthens the bond and reignites attraction. Playfulness acts as a reminder that even in long-term relationships, the spark is not lost, it's simply waiting for an invitation to return. By choosing to be playful, partners breathe life back into desire, making the relationship feel dynamic, alive, and continuously worth exploring.